by Brendan Tobin and Sean Levine, only on the BetQL Network.
And a good Saturday evening. We appreciate you checking us out here. It is Tapped Out on the BetQL Network. We got fights all over the place inside the octagon, but let's go ahead and start with the big boxing match for the first time in 20 years, BT. The heavyweight championship of the world is about to be unified inside the boxing ring. Usyk versus Fury. Fury actually was an underdog for a while, and then obviously a lot of money came in on him come fight night, and he went off as a slight favorite at BetMGM, minus 120. You could have got Usyk at even money. I know you're watching the fight right now out of the corner of your eye. What's going on?
Pretty even fight right now. I have it at 2 rounds apiece. The live odds do have Fury right now at minus 140. I do think that Fury, it's a fascinating fight because I do think Fury is having the more effective punches. I do think Usyk is starting to wear down a little bit because it's a big size discrepancy. I mean, you're talking about he's giving up 40 pounds. He's giving up 7 inches. So it's a big size discrepancy. It doesn't really look like he's hit a lot of shots that bother Tyson Fury, but he's the more active fighter. He's throwing more. He's landing more. But the shots that Fury lands with, specifically that uppercut to the body, that uppercut right to the head, up the middle, that's the punch that Fury's had the most success with. A lot of showboating from Fury. Looks very, very confident. Looks like he's in good shape. But this is a very interesting stylistic clash right now.
Perhaps too much showboating, I think. Like in the first round, he was going full. I mean, he was leaning back on the ropes, and he was acting like he was Anderson Silva, having some fun and smiling and ducking his head out there. Usyk is dangerous. He's undefeated. Tyson Fury is coming off of a fight where, let's just call it what it is, he didn't look very impressive against Francis Ngannou. You and I both thought that the card should have gone Ngannou's way. I actually thought that Fury would come out maybe a little bit more focused, knowing that there's a lot on the line, not only reputation-wise, but belt-wise in this fight.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying there, but I also think that shows you, I think that Tyson Fury is a little bit more in his element. He's always been a showboater. He's that show pony in the ring where he does like to have some fun and, do some different things. I think you saw in the Ngannou fight, a guy who lost a lot of that. I mean, very clearly thought that he was going to walk in there without training and do good against Fury and against Ngannou. And in this one, I think right out of the gate, he's establishing and playing mind games with Usyk, who is a tough guy to crack, obviously. Even walking to the ring, Usyk never breaks. But I do think right now, currently in round 5, we are seeing a Tyson Fury that looks like he is really starting to wear on Alexander Usyk with the size, and specifically working that body, which has always been, if you're going to talk about a chink in the armor of Alexander Usyk, everybody always says it's that body attack. And Fury looks like he's really starting to wear that in the bank. One shot there just low, which the ref is trying to clean up. No warning or anything like that. But, I do think Fury's starting to get on the gas a little bit here. He looks way better than he did against Ngannou.
And you mentioned how big he looks. He looks huge. It looks like the original Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. Like, Usyk looks tiny inside that ring versus Tyson Fury. The last couple of times that we've seen Fury, right, he's fought Deontay Wilder a couple of times. He went up against Francis Ngannou. Those guys are giants, like actual giants. Usyk is not. While he's big and he's jacked, he's not that size. As you mentioned, it looks like Fury, just the reach advantage and the size. Usyk's having trouble getting inside.
Yeah, and I don't know if there's going to be a moment. This is where, like, if you're going to live bet anything that may get a value, you might want to look at towards, Tyson Fury and that body shot. Speaking to some fighters this week, they thought that was really the key if there was going to be an ending to this, just because they know that's probably Usyk's vulnerability. Tyson Fury is a very, very smart boxer, even though he's a bit of a wild card out of the ring sometimes. That is, he knows the path, the best path to victory. The big difference, I would say, with Usyk, like, look, Tyson Fury is no stranger to going up against a much lighter opponent like he did against Deontay Wilder, but Usyk just doesn't have the bombs that Deontay did. Deontay had that great eraser at all times, and Usyk is a former cruiserweight champion. He is as slick a boxer as it gets. Maybe the only guy who you could say skill-wise could hang with Tyson Fury, but at some level of it, if you don't have the power to make up for it, the size is going to be a difference because he really just – it's such a struggle for him to get inside.
Brendan Tobin and the sports machine Sean Levine here talking about the Ring of Fire fight between Tyson Fury and Usyk. Right now, BT just gave us the live odds. I'd assume it keeps leaning toward Fury, BT, as his fight goes along, the deeper that it gets. I remember we talked about the condition that Tyson Fury came in against Ngannou, and he never looks like a Greek god or anything like that. Nobody's going to confuse him with the Bronze Bomber. However, he looked like my Uncle Stuart, which is not a compliment, in the ring against Ngannou. Like last time, there was a lot of blubber. There was a lot of flab going around, some man boobs, if you will. He looks a lot better, a lot faster, a lot stronger to my eyes in this fight.
Yeah, definitely, and the live odds are reflecting that as well. He's now down to minus 300 as between rounds, which was definitely, that was by far and away his best round, round 5, probably the most lopsided round of the fight, quite frankly. So Usyk's going to have to find something to get some answers, and I think that is not, this is not typical for him. He usually has very big leads on scorecards and doesn't have to sell out as much. He always gets to fight on his terms. So this is an interesting reversal for him. It's been a while. He had some moments against AJ that he had to respect, but I think he always knew he had a big, distinct skill advantage over Anthony Joshua. With this matchup against Fury, I think right now he's very, very flustered because Fury has the hands down. He's popping the jab real quick. I just don't think Fury thinks that there's anything Alexander Usyk that he could really do to put him in danger. He's going to have to hit him with something that he really doesn't see. And right now, he just hasn't uncorked anything like that.
BT, we all have crazy dads. Like at some point in our lives, our dads did something where you're like, I can't believe he did that. Certainly Mitch Levine, my father, falls into that category. Nobody, though, like Tyson Fury's dad, John. How about that press conference, dude?
Oh, my God. Crazy. He's headbutting people like an absolute maniac.
But he's a giant, dude. He's a big dude. You can't just headbutt dudes.
They're all giants. I mean, they're all giants. They all are living out. I watched that Netflix show where, Tyson Fury goes, and sometimes he just needs to go live in a trailer to get away from the kids. Now, it's not like he's going off to the mountain. He's not going off to the mountains. He's just like going off to a park that's next to his house, but it's in a trailer. He's just like, I need to live in my trailer.
Sometimes you got to go to the trailer, dude. I get it. I'm a Kansas kid. All right, tapped out here on the BetQL network. That's BT. I'm the Sports Machine, talking some live bet odds. Fury and Usyk, the Ring of Fire. While we're talking some boxing, we're now not that far away. What, about 2 months from the Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson fight? I confessed to you last show how excited I am. After the press conference this week, I'm even more excited. Like, Mike Tyson is still sharp as ever when it comes to one-liners and back and forth with the media. I don't know how much of that you caught. I'm even more in.
I agree. I actually thought that was a much better second press conference than the first one, where there was a lot of respect. I think Tyson kind of going at Jake Paul. Nobody can out talk or, bother, I think, Jake Paul. But, Mike Tyson's Mike Tyson. And he's sitting there and goes, who have you knocked out? You've knocked out little boys. I'm a real man. You couldn't stop Anderson Silva. You couldn't stop Nate Diaz. You look fat. I loved it. I loved him being the antagonist.
And then that lady asked him the question about age, and he was like, who? Who's saying it? Because the truth is, everybody's thinking it. Like, Mike Tyson, how old is he? 73? 102?
50, yeah.
What is
50.
He? For real, what is he, 50?
I think he's 58.
58. 58 versus Jake Paul, who is significantly younger. Everybody's thinking it. Nobody wants to say it directly to Mike Tyson, but everybody's going to be watching. And the curious thing is that it's on Netflix, so it's obviously going to have tons of eyeballs. When I say that, maybe more than any fight ever, because it's more accessible than most pay-per-view fights. One thing that we haven't really talked about in the Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson fight is how we think the fight's going to go. We've had a lot of fun with the press conferences. We've talked about, I can't believe it's actually going to happen, and old versus young. But where's your money going? You got 2 months to think about it, but where's your early lean in this fight? I'm looking at the odds. Jake Paul, slight favorite. Mike Tyson, the dog, at plus 150.
Yeah, this is one of those where it's like, there's a couple things you need to be interested, if you're interested in, with betting on this fight, that you should know. Mind you, it is a professional fight. I'm putting that in air quotes for the radio audience, but it's sparring-sized gloves, so 16-ounce gloves. Typically, for right now, these guys are fighting 10-ounce gloves in the heavyweight championship of the world.
And UFC, so they've ballooned, for the record, 4-ounce gloves, so 4 times the size. Wow. They've
ballooned up the gloves. They're basically fighting with training gloves, and it's 2-minute rounds, which I do think does help Mike Tyson in this one. Plus, he is a dog. It's just, I'm just worried. Like, look, the lady is right. I am worried about the age. I've seen old boxers get in there and just not look like that. But I got to tell you, the way Tyson is acting, the way the comments that he is selling me. Like, he does seem like a guy who does take this seriously when he's in the right mindset. He seems like he's in the right mindset. He looked great 4 years out against Roy Jones. I thought that Mike Tyson looked really, really good. And I did think it was a good point to say, like, I don't think Jake Paul is going to be intimidating versus me. He's right. He's only picked on little guys. He couldn't beat Tommy Fury. I think Mike Tyson sold me. So I think I'm, especially as a dog right now, I think I'm getting in on Tyson early because I feel like those lines could even flip by the time that we get there.
1,000,000%. That's what I was thinking. Like, on fight night, how many people are going to walk up to the window and say, I'm going to take Jake Paul? Everybody wants to bet on Mike Tyson on fight night. So, yeah, I mean, get in while you fit in. At plus 150 looks pretty good to me. You mentioned the Roy Jones Jr. fight. That was 4 years ago. That was kind of the beginning of at least the public finding out about Jake Paul being a boxer. And Mike Tyson had a good line about that. He said, I started you, Jake Paul, 4 years ago, and now I'm going to end you in a couple of months. And I'm just thinking about it. That'd be awesome if Mike Tyson comes back and knocks out Jake Paul. And the flip side, too, like, it sucks because he's old and he's a legend and he's Iron Mike. But if Jake Paul knocks him out, the aesthetics are going to look kind of cool, the same way that we've seen Jake Paul knock out some other dudes. And then Jake Paul's going to, talk smack into a microphone. I can't believe I'm asking this question, but at this point, who do you think hits harder? Because Mike Tyson used to hit like a Mack truck, and he still does, but he's getting old. The one thing that Jake Paul does, he does hit hard.
Yeah, he's got a good overhand right, but Mike Tyson makes a good point in that who is he knocked out? He's knocked out welterweights. He's knocked out guys, 100, ballooned up, to 185, 190 pounds. Jake Paul, he's interestingly gone up in weight to 230 pounds. That's what the word is, and he does look bigger. I don't know if that's necessarily going to be better for him. I don't know if you're going to outstrength old man strength Mike Tyson. I really don't. So again, there's a lot of things that I think Mike Tyson made some good logical points in where you really should only have questions about, hey, is Mike Tyson, is he really capable of getting through this age-wise? And if he is, I mean, boxing skill, been in there with the biggest hitters of all time. I don't think that Jake Paul's going to have to hit him with something that's really, really crazy. And also then you take into account that they're wearing giant gloves. So how much thump is Jake Paul going to have with those two? So I don't know, man. I think that a lot of things that Jake Paul has set up for this fight, I think are going against him.
All good points if you're going to put money on either side. That's not old man strength or dad strength. That's grandfather strength at this point in the case of Mike Tyson.
True.
Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson. Tyson the underdog. On the undercard, Darren Till. How about that? The gorilla is part of this card versus Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. You're more of a boxing guy than I am. Darren Till in the UFC, lots of hype, not so much performance. Obviously, he got the chance at the title versus Tyron Woodley back in the day. What do you expect in that fight versus Darren Till and Julio Cesar Chavez Jr.?
Well, I actually think it's a fight that Darren Till could have success against. Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., probably one of the more frustrating fighters of his time, carries the lineage of an all-time legend, obviously, but has not built the legacy that his father did. I mean, a lot of talks of like one of the guys who's notorious for not training or going hard enough. Some people have said he's quit in fights. He's lost to Anderson Silva before, so he's lost to former MMA guys. So I like it. I think it's a fun fight for Darren Till. I think that it's a winnable fight for Darren Till for sure. But it's it's one of those where Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. probably the perfect guy for you to come in because he's got name value, but I think that Darren Till could absolutely do some damage against him.
As we speak, the belts are on the line, all of them for the heavyweight championship of the world, first time in 20 years. Tyson Fury started off the fight as a slight favorite, minus 120 against Alexander Usyk at even money. BT, what's that looking like right now? It looks like Usyk basically has no chance.
Yeah, the live odds actually, it's been interesting. They've really swung back to Usyk, who is having more success in this eighth round. At one point, the live odds had him I mean, like in the minus 12, had Tyson Fury in the minus 1200 range right now.
Wow.
Usyk's about plus 250. It's gone all the way down to minus 320 for Tyson Fury. So I think people are, maybe hopping in and hoping that there could be some late salvage. Maybe they just found that there was too much value there, but definitely some things swinging back Usyk's way. But right now, he's got a bit of an uphill climb, even though this has been a much, much better 8th round for him.
Back and forth, the odds go. We got a good fight. Producer Jake says it's 5-3 Fury. We'll update you on the other side. Tapped Out on the BetQL Network.
Sean Levine will step into the cage with Brendan Tobin in Are You Gonna Fight Me?
I'm gonna fight your ass.
Here on Tapped Out.
That's right, fight me like a man.
Only on the BetQL Network.
You know the fight. When I tell you to break, I want you to step back up my command and break. Now go back to the corner and come out fighting at the bell.
Welcome back into the show. We'll get into this segment here in just a second, but either Brendan Tobin just had a seizure or something just happened in the heavyweight championship of the world. Usyk versus Fury. What's going on, dude?
Oh, man, this fight has just completely flipped on its head, and the questions of Tyson Fury's chin once again become an issue as Usyk has been just attacking him up against the ropes. Monster left hand cracks Tyson Fury, completely stumbles and wobbles the big Gypsy King giant, leaning to keep himself up all over the ring, eventually falls into the blue corner ring post, and the ref, he starts going for the count. So never officially touched knee to canvas, Sean, but that was a 10-8 round for Alexander Usyk, and it really looks right now like we have an even fight on the scorecards, and Usyk, all momentum has swung back to the Ukrainian. He is absolutely pummeling Fury, who has to, survive after he had momentum. He looked like in the middle of this fight, it was all in his control. Usyk had a fantastic 8th round to put himself back into the fight, and then the 9th round swung all momentum back to him in this matchup. So Alexander Usyk right now sitting pretty as we are in round 10 of this undisputed heavyweight championship fight, and it seems right now we are even because of the 10-8 round.
Damn, with an update like that, I'd feel bad if I paid the $70 for the fight. How about that from Brendan Tobin? Yeah, dude. So it looked like it was for all the world Fury at the beginning of the fight. He was looking like he was the bigger guy with the reach. He looked like he was putting the Ngannou fight behind him. Usyk looked too small. He couldn't get inside. What changed here? Because as you said, we've seen Tyson Fury, even in fights that he's won. I'm thinking back to the Wilder fights. He has hit the canvas. You mentioned that he got rattled just now. What do you think happened, and where would you put your live money on right now if you're a bettor?
I mean, it's hard not to feel like Alexander Usyk has this thing in control right now, because I feel like he has perfectly found the range, especially up against the ropes. We had some conditioning questions, obviously, with Fury. He looks in better shape, but now you're starting to see him look for those ropes to kind of keep him up. It's a big body, Sean, and you're wondering right now, Alexander Usyk is now the one showboating, putting the hands down, sticking the chin out, daring Tyson Fury to throw at him. And instead, he is just nailing him. He has found the absolute distance and timing of that left hand, and now he knows he could bother Tyson Fury. And this is exactly what happened in the Ngannou fight the last time around, is Fury got a little bit gun-shy. Unlike the Deontay Wilder fights where he would go out on his shield, you wonder, hey, this has been a lot of fights for him. Is he tired of putting himself in harm's way? So if Tyson Fury is going to win this fight, he's got to get back to hitting the jab and hitting that uppercut up the middle. That's where he was having most of his success, and it looks like he's starting to get his wits about him as this 10th round comes to a close. But I would still say this is a 10th round leaning toward Alexander Usyk, especially for ring control and a couple of big left hands up against the ropes.
So we'll see if Fury can survive. He looked great early. We'll get you the live odds as soon as they're updated at BetMGM. It kind of makes sense because if you think about it, when the fight got announced, I remember telling you Usyk should be favored to win that fight. I remember saying that Ngannou made Fury look not great. Fury right now, by the way, is the heavy underdog at BetMGM. Check this out. Plus 360 all of a sudden for Tyson Fury. Usyk right now is almost a 1-5 favorite. You got to bet 500 to win one right now. The official number on Usyk is minus 490. So at this point, it seems like maybe Fury's slowing down and his only path to victory would be to knock out Usyk. Is that fair enough to say?
I wouldn't say that. This is still a very close fight. I think right now we have Usyk probably up 1 point. Mind you, he had a 10-8 round in there, so that evens things up. The rounds up early were close. There's no telling where they win that scoring. So I still think that Tyson Fury has a chance to win a decision, but he has to win these last 2 rounds. There's no doubt about that.
Wow. So this thing has just become one heck of a fight. We'll keep you updated. We've pretty much lost Brendan Tobin for the remaining probably part of this segment. Well, you don't hear his voice, but his focus is not really here. What's up, bud?
Yeah, just for the for everybody right now on the broadcast, their unofficial scorecard has it dead even at 95 apiece. So, this is an absolute great fight back and forth. They really have both had their moments, and championship rounds for the undisputed championship. Absolutely, it's Goosey's, dude. I'm all about it right now.
Hold on. Are you telling me that my draw that I bet at 30 to 1 at BetMGM before the fight started is in play?
Definitely.
Oh my goodness. I forgot that I even made that bet until you just mentioned it. And I was like, wait a minute. I remember I did something silly because I had a free $10. That'll pay $300. That'll make you feel good. Angela Hill, if you have money on her in the UFC, that'll make you feel good also. Wins in the 3rd round by submission for the frequently active Angela Hill. We got fights going on all over the place, including right now on your radio. Time for you and I to go at it. Sean O'Malley is eyeing Conor McGregor, dude. You're going to fight me if I say if those guys somehow get inside the octagon, that would be the biggest UFC fight of all time.
Oh, man. Yeah, I would say probably so. Outside of maybe a Khabib rematch, that'd be a record breaker for sure. Those guys, you have almost the student versus the pupil. There's been a little bit of bad blood, it seems, with some shots at Conor McGregor that bummed out Sean O'Malley, and I definitely think that would be an absolute pay-per-view monster, dude.
There's a rumor that we're going to get Stipe and John Jones at Madison Square Garden once John is healthy. You're going to fight me if I say, dude, if we don't get that fight here pretty quick, in the next calendar year, I hate to say it, I'm losing interest pretty quick.
It's not that I'm losing interest, so I'll fight you on that, but it just is, you're in an impossible situation with what you're doing to the heavyweight division. They announced this week that we have the interim belt on the line again against with Curtis Blades, Tom Aspinall, and there's a lot of quibbling about, well, they're fighting for the interim belt. Should Jones even have the belt anymore? Does this fight against Stipe even need the belt? Knowing where they're at in their careers, especially if they're both planning to walk away. I think that's the big thing, is if they're both planning away after this, then what's the point of it really being a championship fight? I don't think it's going to sell any less just because there's not a belt on the line.
When my grandfather got really old, he needed this belt that I walked around with him, and just to hold him up so he didn't fall over. It was this point in Stipe and John Jones' career, maybe that's the belt that they should be fighting for, is my grandpa's old belt, just to make sure that he doesn't fall flat on his face. Because, I mean, do they need to really fight for a championship belt if they're both going to walk off? That's just going to screw up the division even more.
Well, and also, look, we've gotten to this BMF belt type of era, and I'm not suggesting putting a BMF on the line for them, but, why not a GOAT belt? Why not, some legacy belt? If you need to find some hardware to give somebody at the end of this thing. Very, very close round, by the way. We're about to go into the final round between Fury and Usyk. That was a tough one to score. I'm going to lean Usyk, but I think that one really could have gone either way, Sean. But that's the only thing is, do they really need it? Is it necessary? But then it's also thinking to yourself, it's all right, maybe you could lure John Jones into one more fight against whoever wins versus Blades and Aspinall. So you do want that possibility as well.
Brendan Tobin, Sports Machine, Sean Levine. We'll keep you updated on the heavyweight championship of the world going on as we speak. Kind of crazy how the odds have worked out, because a lot of early money came in on Usyk. He was the very early favorite, and that didn't surprise me. And then Fury got a lot of public money dumped on him. By the time the fight went off, he was a minus 120. BT told us that at one point in this fight, I don't want to misquote, but Fury was, how heavy of a favorite was he at one point? Better than 10-1, right?
You could have gotten Usyk at one point at 10-1 in this fight for sure. It was way in favor, and even actually going. I gave you actually the lines have even gone more in Usyk's favor for this one. So I'm trying to send you that.
During this fight live, you would have had to pay minus 1,000 if you wanted to get on Tyson Fury. Right now, as we speak, if you want to get in on Usyk, you got to pay almost the same. Minus 900. That's how much this fight has swung. We're talking about a difference of 1,900 on the money line. That's crazy during a fight. If you still believe in Fury going in the last round, it's plus 550. You tell me, that seems like a pretty good bet if somehow Fury can just beat him up this round.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's still big. He's got to go for broke a little bit, and that's the one thing with him, though, is look, Tyson Fury's never been a one-shot kill artist. If he's had a guy really exhausted like a Deontay Wilder, sure, but Usyk only looked stronger than he did earlier on in the fight. I mean, Usyk looked pretty demoralized. We're talking when he hit the stool in round 5, and now he's on the front foot. He's backing Tyson Fury into the corner. He's even, that tricks of Tyson Fury trying to tie up that we've seen so many. He's shrugging him off and throwing him into the corner. I mean, it's not even close to see who the fresher fighter is right now. I don't know if Tyson Fury has a Gypsy King Hail Mary in him. He's still throwing punches. He's still a live wire, but does he have anything to really hurt and affect Usyk? Because Usyk looks like he's about to finish off these last 90 seconds throwing big left-hand bombs to try and close the show. And then if you think about this, Sean, dude, if this guy, Alexander Usyk, is able to pull this off, we've talked so much about Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua. He might have wins over both of these guys. It's an incredible legacy. We're talking about John Jones, Steve Miocic in the UFC and their heavyweight legacy. Dude, this guy was the undisputed cruiserweight champion of the world. Comes up, haven't seen the likes of this since Evander Holyfield, of what Alexander Usyk has been able to do with his boxing resume. So really, really incredible stuff.
Although I'm thinking to myself, the way that you've been talking about this fight, Tyson Fury has had some interesting decisions throughout his career. The last time against Francis Ngannou, you and I both thought Ngannou won the fight by a round or two, and it ended up being Fury on 2 of the 3 cards. That was a split decision. I go back to the Fury's got a tie right now, right? Yeah, he's got the undefeated, but he's also got that 1, if you think back. So he's had some interesting decisions. What are the chances that there's a shady boxing, typical, all right, this is Tyson Fury, maybe it's best for me to get a rematch out of it right away, we need to keep the Gypsy King relevant? It sounds like I'm trying to talk myself into. I think my tie is still in play, because they always love leaning toward Fury, it feels like.
I can't rule that out, and I think that he's had a pretty decent 12th round here.
Okay.
You know, he's trying some showboating there at the end. Like these were two pretty close final rounds. I think I lean Usyk, and I think he should get the nod. Especially he had the most significant moment in this fight by far. So I can't rule it out, Sean. I mean, you're right. He has. You think about the Ngannou fight. You think about the Deontay Wilder one. I would say that was the opposite. I would say that everybody pretty much thought that he won that fight. It's just that, but you know, right now on the unofficial scorecard at the end of this on the broadcast, they got 114 apiece. So we'll see. We'll see what the judges end up coming through with. We might be getting that draw. We might have a huge payday on your hands.
My goodness, that was just. You know, every now and again you look at your BetMGM account and you're like, all right, they threw me a bone. They gave me $10, or you got $10 left, or something crazy happened. You didn't know you had the money in your account. That's literally what it was. And I looked down and I was like, what's the longest shot that I could play? And that was a draw. And I'm thinking, you know, maybe they go back and forth a little bit. Maybe Tyson Fury starts off looking strong and Usyk wins some late rounds and it's questionable at the end. And here we are. It sounds like that's pretty much exactly what happened. So you watch most of the fight. We've got like a minute and a half now before we go to break. How would you score it? Because it seemed like early on, at least especially my producer, Jake, he was in my ear going, oh, Usyk's done for. It seemed like Fury was winning a bunch of the rounds early on. What's your final card say before we go to break here?
I have it 115, 112 because I gave him a 10-8 there in the ninth round, which is a little bit of controversy because like he was held up by the ropes, but I thought like that absolutely was deserving of a knockdown with how bad that he beat him. That's on me. The judges don't necessarily have to give it, but even if that was the case, I'd still have it 115, 113 in favor of Alexander Usyk. But that's just look, we're talking, if that's the case, that's one round. So it could easily be swung in the draw.
I'm telling you, man, the more words that come out of your mouth, the more that I think they're about to tell us a draw, which would maybe be the best thing, not just for my pocketbook, but also because we would get the instant rematch. This is a fight that went back and forth as far as the public money went. The sharps liked Usyk at the end, and here we are. It was as close of a fight as you could possibly have. I didn't watch it as close as you did because I'm trying to host a radio show here, but it sounds like it was a very entertaining, fun, back and forth fight that is worth a rematch. The best way to get one of those is a draw. So, again, I'm trying to talk myself into it because, dude, I would get paid. That would be nice and unexpected. All right, coming up on the other side, we will get you the official scorecards. I will either be very happy or I'll be very upset, and we'll talk some UFC right here. Tapped Out on the BetQL Network.
Tobin and Sean Levine on the BetQL Network.
Well, for the first time in 20 years, we have an undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. And BT, I had my money on a draw, and I came pretty close, but I did not win because tell us who the new champion is.
Alexander Usyk by split decision. Judges had it 115, 112 for Usyk. One had it 114, 113 Fury. And then the final decider, 114, 113. So that knockdown ends up winning Alexander Usyk the championship because he has it even. But of course, you have a 10-8 round. So the 6-6 split for Usyk that way on that judge's scorecard comes with the extra point. So he wins based on that 9th round, that colossal 9th round that swung the fight.
So it took 20 years for us to have an undisputed heavyweight champion. Now that we have one, I'd assume that Usyk, sits on the shelf for a while and then figures out who gets his next shot.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing, Sean. I knew you were going to come to me with that because, when you have 2 wins over.
Exactly 3 minutes ago, dude. I got to ask you what's next.
I understand. I mean, I got to think that the immediate thing is, right, run it back. You have a fight that close against Tyson Fury. I got to think the immediate is, hey, Tyson Fury yet again. Let's do that fight one more time. Beating Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua's riding high right now, but he's almost in a, if I could use a UFC parallel for everybody, like a Max Holloway, Volkanovski situation. Like he's already lost to Usyk twice. So you can't do that. Deontay Wilder, he just lost. So all your familiar faces, he's beaten Daniel Dubois. Joe Parker has had a bit of a resurgence. I don't know if that gets anybody, in the jellies. Yeah, exactly. So my point is, I would say a run it back is the most likely scenario for Alexander Usyk.
If they do run it back, what do you think the odds look like? Because I think that's a pretty obvious thing. I asked the question just because I knew that's what you were going to say. That has to be what goes on, in my opinion. Not to mention for Tyson Fury, that really has to happen because his stock right now is not sky high, right? Like now he's coming off of a loss tonight. He's coming off a questionable win decision versus Francis Ngannou. If it's not a rematch for him, it's probably some dude that nobody's heard of, a tune-up fight, if you will. I can't imagine that it makes sense for him to fight Anthony Joshua or something like that. Another fight against Deontay Wilder makes no sense. He kind of needs the rematch. In the case of Usyk, the biggest money fight, the most eyeballs you could get on, based on the way this fight just happened, would be a rematch. And then if somehow, let's say, just for the sake of this conversation, Fury can win, then we would have a trilogy, which in boxing is gold for everybody involved. So, yeah, we're going to get this again.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, the only young up-and-comer I could look at who's been getting a lot of publicity lately is like a Jared Anderson. But, and then, so there's probably publicity-wise. But I think that's too much for the young guy. I think that's throwing him to the wolves, basically. Honestly, looking at the rankings right now and all of them, man, probably, if Deontay Wilder could beat Zhang coming up on their card, he could maybe, if he does something thrilling, he could throw himself back into the mix just because he's always entertaining. But I would say, yeah, probably Joe Parker, honestly. Like, the former WBO champ, he has the WBO interim belt. He's probably the guy, if it's not Fury. And yeah, that, unless you're going to do that in New Zealand, I don't really know how much business that does.
Speaking of fight dates, let's talk about some UFC fights that have been announced. Official for UFC 304. You kind of called this one on last week's show. In England, this is Leon versus Bilal and Tom Aspinall versus Curtis Blades. Let's go ahead and start with Leon and Bilal. This one has been teased for a long time. This is a fight that most people thought we were going to see at UFC 300. What's your early lean on Rocky versus Bilal? Remember the name Muhammad.
I'm leaning Leon Edwards. I think that I have a lot of respect for Bilal Muhammad. I don't really understand why like they put the runaround on him. It seems strange to me. Like he couldn't build up a fight just like Colby Covington wouldn't. It's going to be in Manchester, so I feel like Leon's going to get the big pop. So I don't understand why this was such a big problem. It almost reminds me of like them being forced to give Damian Maia a title shot. Like, he's not that boring. He's had some decent performances. But they have fought before. Leon, before the whole eye poke thing, was having some success in the early goings of that fight. I think Leon is not a guy where you could say your typical striker, oh, he's going to get absolutely mauled. No, I mean, look, we've seen him against Colby, against Kamaru Usman. This guy is not afraid to go take on, heavy grapplers. So I lean Leon Edwards.
I'm kind of interested to see the press conference leading up to this one because, as you said, Leon's been accused of being boring, even though when he's in the octagon, he's far from it. Bilal, same thing. I wonder if Bilal tries to get under his skin, tries to be somebody that he's not during the press conference, because you're right. A lot of people are like, oh, really? This is a fight that has been talked about for a while, and finally here we are. It's going to be good once it happens. I wonder what the buildup looks like. Kind of, I can say the same thing for Curtis Blades versus Tom Aspinall. Like, that's one of those things where outside of the octagon, my interest isn't really there for those guys back and forth. But once they get going, I can't wait for that fight.
Yeah, I don't know what the odds look like. I don't know if Jay could find that for us for right now, but I would be curious, like, is there a number that could convince me to bet Curtis Blades? Because
no,
I'd imagine the early lines are Tom Aspinall are very heavy, and I feel like, you know, Curtis Blades is really dangerous. You know, like, he's not a bum. This guy goes in there and has been very, very close to the belt many a time, and then he usually just runs into somebody with a hammer, with an absolute hammer, and all of a sudden you're like, all right, back to the line, Curtis Blades, sorry. But he has basically been a top 3 heavyweight for 6 years. Like, I just think that there could be a number where I'd be like, you know what, I'm sprinkle a little something on Curtis Blades. You can't talk me out of it. I think that Curtis Blades is that now. Is it 2-1? You got to sweeten the pot a little bit for me, a little bit more. But the one thing that I'd be interested in, though, here's what I would say.
Jake got those odds for us. Plus 200 if you want the underdog, minus 240 for Tom Aspinall. So you say that's not enough for you. Maybe you wait till fight.
I think that's what I'm going to do, because I feel like the odds are going to – I feel like the Aspinall hype train with the John Jones stuff is going to go, which will mean the Curtis Blades odds will also go wider up. I think I'm going to maybe sprinkle something on Razor that night, because here's my thinking. If he gets out of the first round, and then Aspinall's got to be like, whew. All of a sudden I'm thinking to myself, all right, I like it. I think that this could potentially go. I don't love my chances because Aspinall's looked like an absolute demon, but he's got a lot on his hands in this fight. I mean, this is not a Pavlovich, who, yes, was the scariest man that we all thought, but he diced him up. But Curtis Blades is battle tested. This guy, and also we've seen with Curtis Blades, he can get through and weather some storms and still go get a win. So I'm just telling you, I don't think this is a layup for Tom Aspinall. I know that you, as you know, basically half Manchesteran, you know, you are president of the Tom Aspinall fan club. You're laughing at me, but I'm just telling you, there's a number. If there's a number it gets to, I'm going to be like, I'll throw a little something on Curtis Blades that night.
And I'm laughing at the Manchesteran. Are people from Manchester known as Manchesterans? That can't be right. Manchesterans? There you go. Maybe. I don't know.
Manchester, it sounds like a Star Wars spinoff.
It really
the
does.
Manchester.
Man, I would watch that. I would check that
Baby
one
Yoda
out.
with Yoda with a pint of ale.
You're damn right I lead that fan club, because it'll be done in one. That's what Tom Aspinall does. That's what he's done to everybody. What's Curtis Blades? You're talking about maybe if it goes into deep waters. It doesn't with Tom Aspinall. That dude doesn't even need floaties. Tom Aspinall finishes his fights quick. He's faster. He's a better wrestler. At this point, I think he punches harder. He's younger. He has every advantage. And I've seen Curtis Blades lose inside the octagon in different ways. I'm a little bitter because I've lost some money on Blades over the years. In the case of Aspinall, the only time that he's ever even been vulnerable is when he's got injured. Like his other fights, he's dominated. So if you want to lose your money, if there's a certain number you can get talked into on Curtis Blades and then throw your money away, go ahead. I know you work hard for your money to provide for your family. I ain't doing it.
Well, look, yes, when you say he lost in a different way, he really hasn't. Like he loses to monster power punchers, which Aspinall is very capable of doing that. Like we've seen,
he can do that.
He could butcher right through you, and you know he's maybe not the knockout one punch artist, but he's going to hit you probably with 3 shots, and you won't know it hit you before you're already on the canvas. But I mean, he's beaten some quality guys over his career. So, you know, I just think that you can't rule it out with Curtis Blades. I don't think I get why Aspinall is the deserved favorite right now. He's the interim heavyweight champion. He made Pavlovich look like a punk. And I mean, like, I thought Pavlovich was the scariest man on the planet, even scarier than Francis Ngannou. And he just didn't matter. Didn't matter. Still went through him like he was nothing. But I don't know. I just think that there will be a number that I think will be very much sweet for me on that night, and I'll be like, I'm just gonna throw a little something on Razor.
You know who Razor Blades is? He's like a good friend of the show, the Killer Gorilla. That's who he reminds me of. and I love Jared Cannonier, but
No,
like
no.
he fought for a belt. Cannonier fought for a belt, which is crazy, but he did. Also on this card, by the way, I didn't see this one coming. Paddy Pimblett versus Bobby Green. That's a cool fight.
It is a cool fight. I think it's a nice test for Paddy Pimblett. It seems like about the waters that he should be in for sure. I think this is a big one for him because it's like, hey, if you can't beat Bobby Green, then what is he? Everybody feels like he's been either given gifts or fed an easy schedule. Bobby Green's got cardio for days. So there could be some issues there for Paddy for sure.
You're a hater when it comes to Paddy the Baddy. As much as I love Aspinall, you just have completely jumped off that ship. They're going to be chanting, "Oh, Paddy's a baddie." That crowd is going to be insane. Speaking of crowds, we've got fight going on tonight as we speak. We'll keep you updated on the Octagon, anything that's happening in the world of boxing coming up on the other side. We'll talk some more UFC. Big second hour. Marcel Dorff joins the show as well, and then we'll give you our best odds before we dip out of here. Don't go anywhere. We appreciate checking us out here on this Saturday evening. It is Tapped Out right here on the BetQL Network. Beat the man in a bigger division. Let's give him what he's due. Salute, brother. I agree. Usyk should definitely move up from whatever he was in the pound-for-pound rankings. But to be number one, I mean, does he pass the monster? Does he pass Terrence Crawford? Was he that impressive this fight? You tell me. You watched it.
I mean, that's a hard thing to argue, man. Because here's the thing: like, you got the whole thing with pound for pound is yes, okay. You want to give respect to the little guys. It's kind of the whole point of pound for pound. But this guy won the Cruiserweight Undisputed Championship, came up, and then did something that hasn't been done in 20 years in the sport, and then did it against an undefeated champion, the lineal heavyweight champion of the world. Yeah, I think you absolutely have to put him in the class of Terrence Crawford, in a way, Canelo, Absolutely. I mean, we can quibble about who deserves to be on top, but I think that the idea that he was definitely down in this fight too, Sean, and the fact that he was down, he looked down and a little bit defeated and came back off his stool and completely changed the trajectory of that fight, which is, who doesn't love that? Like the idea of a guy who was able to dig down and face some adversity and then go get the win.
I can't remember odds during a fight ever changing as much as you kept telling me, where at one point Tyson Fury was a live bet minus 1,000. In the last round, he was like he was a plus, 450, 500 at the end of the fight. So, yeah, dude, like that thing got crazy as it went on. It is curious to see what happens. I was talking to you during the break that besides losing the fight and losing his undefeated record, as long as Tyson Fury gets a rematch, I don't really think he lost that much, because think about it. He gets another payday. He gets all the eyeballs on him. All the belts will be on the line again. If he wins that fight, then he holds all the belts again. He's back in the public's good graces, and then they'll have a trilogy, and he'll have a chance to make more money off of it. So, yeah, it sucks. And, man, he got hit pretty hard a couple of times by Usyk, but once he wakes up tomorrow and realizes that he's probably going to get this fight again, I think he's going to be just fine.
Yeah, there's two things that I'm curious about in a rematch, and it goes for each fighter. And because they're both such smart boxers, I think that you have to wonder, is Usyk going to have everything figured out from a distance standpoint? Because it very clearly bothered him early on, having to deal with those shots. But
it sounds like,
or does he have that? Yeah, or does he have that figured out? And then with Fury, we saw him fight this fight pretty similar to the first way that he fought Deontay Wilder, where I think that we could see if Fury's going to go at this different the next time around, he might have to get a little bit stronger, even bigger, and try and, muck this fight up a little bit with tying him up, leaning on him in the ropes. We didn't see any of that in this fight. He really tried to win this from a distance, which was probably the smart thing to do when you're fighting a 6'2" guy. But does he try and flip it on its head and become more physical, more ugly the next time that these guys match? So I think there are adjustments that Fury can make, but going into this one as the slight favorite, I think the odds will probably flip, because Usyk closing line was about minus 150. I'd imagine Usyk's probably going to be about that, if not a little heavier the next time around. But I do think there's a couple of things that Fury could do to have a better result, but rightfully so, I think Usyk will probably be the favorite.
I actually think Usyk would be a heavier favorite based on what I've seen and the way that everybody's talking, how dominant he looked. Maybe throw a 10-8 in there. In boxing, oftentimes in the early rounds, they dance around each other, figure something out, and then late, it's whoever has been able to change their live strategy better. And on the fly, it sounds like that was Usyk. If you figured him out late in the fight and dominated, I think that he'll be more like a minus 200, 210, even against the great Gypsy King. All right, let's talk some more UFC. Some cool fights are in the works. Michael Venom Page versus Ian Gary. I'd love to see that one.
Love that fight. I know that I know X or Twitter, whatever we're calling it these days, everybody's been all abuzz about Ian Gary versus Colby Covington. I have no interest in it. I really don't. I don't care about the whole drama with the wife thing. It means nothing to me. I want to see Ian Gary in cool fights, and him versus MVP. It sounds like a martial arts movie. Like that would be an absolute thriller, an absolute banger. MVP's, first performance was pretty good. Being in the building for that was awesome. He had the fun intro and all that. But now that he's got the first fight nerves underway, can he go and take out the young kid? Because Michael Venom Page is not getting any younger. If he beats a guy who's definitely at the top of his game right now, then maybe he gets, fast-tracked into that title picture, because, much like we saw with Dustin Poirier. Now, he hasn't been around as long, so I don't know if he's got the company favoritism like that, like Poirier did. But still, it's just, to me, it's a much more consequential fight, because I feel like Ian Gary should beat Colby Covington. And if he doesn't beat him in dominant fashion, I feel like he's got a lot of work to do. MVP and these guys fight off. I think that both of them can benefit and leap ahead, but I don't think either one loses that much if they fall in this fight.
You mentioned titles and old guys. rumor has it that November 9th at Madison Square Garden, if healthy, that's when we're going to get John Jones putting his belt on the line against Stipe Miocic. Speaking of the big guys, we told you here on the show, Derek Lewis was going to knock old boy out, and he did last Saturday night. That was fun. Then he did the Orca in St. Louis. In fact, I even nailed the round. Remember, I told you I think it might take a second. I think it goes in the second round, and then Derek Lewis puts his lights out, and that's exactly what happened. Did you get paid on the Black Beast?
I did. And then we all got to see him take off the shorts again, which is always a delight. I've never seen. Now he's added to the repertoire of fanning his opponents with said shorts. So he has gotten even more hilarious with his celebrations. And this is what I want. I've always said, like, look, not everybody in the world is going to be a champion, but he is for sure a fan favorite. He's the knockout king. I need him to be basically like Barry Bonds. Is like, you give me 1 out of 3, Derek Lewis, that's all I need, dude. You go out there and you're a 300 hitter, but that's going to be a bomb that we're all going to remember. I'm cool with it. Not everybody has to be champion. It doesn't matter. They're still beloved fighters who are going to be remembered forever. Derek Lewis is certainly going to be remembered forever because of his UFC run.
Speaking of how history remembers, guys, let's play a little game here. Who's history going to remember fonder? You mentioned the Black Beast, a fan favorite, but not a champion. Him or Donald Cowboy Cerrone?
Wow. That's a good one, dude. It's a good game.
Yeah, I love you. Big game guy. One of the biggest.
I'm going to say history's going to remember Cowboy more. Cowboy, WEC champ, more shots at the belt, I believe. I think he had 2 title fights instead of 1.
Who's got more finishes? That one's close. Real close.
I don't know. I'm not sure. I mean,
Jake,
at one point he had I know Cowboy had the wins before Jim Miller passed him, but I'm going to say Cowboy.
So, yeah, Cowboy's got a lot of most finishes, most head kicks.
Yeah, I would say Cowboy at one point was, I would say that this guy's one of the more popular fighters just in the promotion in general. So I'm going to say Cowboy, but it's a great question. I think it's a slight lean on Cowboy. It's not a blowout.
How about 2 guys that are still fighting, but we haven't seen in the octagon for a while? Once it's all said and done, whose history are going to remember fonder? Would it be Izzy or Usman?
I'm gonna say Kamaru Usman because I think his title reign had a huge rivalry with Colby Covington that everybody was interested in. Then the Masvidal fights were absolutely massive because of Masvidal's star power, puts his lights out the way that he did, so he has an all-time knockout. And then he's got one of the most memorable losses ever. And really was on the rise of maybe catching George St. Pierre. As much as I love Izzy, and Izzy's a comparable in defenses and all that, I just never really felt like he was ever going to touch Anderson Silva. I just didn't think we were going to get to that point. Maybe we would have, but I just think that my slight lean on that is Kamaru.
Oh, he touched Anderson Silva a couple of times. I saw it myself. Brendan Tobin, Sports Machine, Sean Levine.
He was old. That doesn't count.
Yeah, no, I did.
Post broken leg spider doesn't count.
Oh, okay. All right. Fair enough. Who's history going to remember fonder? Like 10 years from now, who are we talking about first? Khabib or Islam?
I'm going to say Khabib. There's just, Khabib to me has like an aura about him with the way that he left undefeated. And that's okay. Like, I think that he had something in a signature way to go win fights that just made him seem unbeatable. Whereas, I mean, Islam, we thought that he lost to a featherweight, like for the most part. Now he got his revenge on a very favorable schedule, but I just think that Khabib's got the aura about him right now. Like, Islam's going to have to put more of a run together to even like match what Khabib did, fair or not. I just think that's where we're at with him.
Yeah, Khabib, I would say, was more dominant. You can say what you will about Khabib retiring too early. I'd say a couple of things. One, what else is he supposed to do? He completely cleared out the division. I'm not really interested in running it back with a bunch of dudes that he beat up. And 2, there was never really a time in his entire career that Khabib was in trouble. I'm trying to think. Like, it was, who had him in the guillotine? Was it Poirier? Was it DP?
Poirier.
So Poirier had him in the guillotine, but even then it was like, he ain't tapping to this. And once he was out, it was a normal Khabib fight where he dominated. So that's the difference to me, is not only was he undefeated and he has the aura about him, but he was so clean in every single fight. In the case of Islam, he has been in a couple of, let's say, closer fights. The one that you referenced versus Alexander Volkanovski, where you and I both thought that Volk won the first time around. So I'm with you on that one. I think history is probably going to remember Khabib. A lot of people think is a top 5 fighter of all time.
Yeah, the only thing I would say with Islam that he has in his back pocket is like he won the belt against a much better guy. Like Khabib's path to the title was pretty wonky. The only asterisk over it, we always wanted to see what does him versus prime Tony look like. We never got it. Then, Tony, trips over the cables. So then he was going to fight Max Holloway. The commission stops him.
Yeah, but he beat Prime Conor McGregor. I don't mean to cut you off, but he didn't
beat a Prime Conor. I mean, did he beat a Prime Conor McGregor? Conor McGregor after boxing Floyd Mayweather?
Still prime, I would say. Very back end. Like, I think that Conor was still... It's not the Conor we're talking about today, that's for sure. It's not the guy that we were talking about a couple of years ago that was breaking his ankle. It's not the guy a couple of years before that was talking about your wife's in my DMs. You know what I mean? Like, no. I think that we're talking about Conor at the very back end of his prime. It's easy to question it because he lost the fight. But, Jake, can you get the odds on what the odds were that night, the night of the fight between Khabib and Conor? I know I'm going to make you do some work here. Because I feel like, if in my memory shot, but it feels like to me that was pretty much a pick'em, which would tell me that it was both the prime for both of them. Do you remember the odds on top of your head, BT?
I have it in front of me here. It was Conor McGregor was a minus 165. Khabib was a plus 135. I just wanted to chime in though, because I feel like McGregor is the answer. I feel like McGregor is going to be remembered the most in history out of any UFC fighter there's ever been to this point. Even if Khabib was better and did beat him, got to go McGregor. Unless if someone comes along and does something more than McGregor did for the sport, he'll always be the most remembered.
Yeah, but I think with
I agree.
No, but I think that the thing with him is, you say that he was in the midst of his prime, like, yeah, kind of, but he went off to box. Like if he would have got him off the Eddie Alvarez fight directly, okay, but like you had a Conor McGregor who was a bit of a fat cat right off of the $100 million payday. He didn't get McGregor at the peak of his powers.
Okay, so what if O'Malley goes and fights Ryan Garcia or goes and fights one of these dudes coming up? We agree that right now O'Malley's in his prime, right?
Yeah, but I think he was younger than what McGregor was, if I recall.
I feel like you're dicing this one up. Maybe you're right. All right, that's fine. We'll call this
you're
one.
Dicing it up.
We'll call this one a draw, which I think the Usyk Fury fight should have been. And damn it, I'm bitter because I would have made a lot of money. Fun show so far. Coming up next, the fun continues as we bring on good friend of the show. Doesn't get any bigger than this. Big Marcel joins us. Big Marcel Dorff. We talk some fighting. We make some money along the way. Hopefully you're having some fun this Saturday night. We appreciate you checking us out wherever you are, right here on the BetQL Network.
Welcome on in, everybody, to Tapped Out here on the BetQL Network. Very excited to talk to our next guest, one of the best in the game, Big Marcel Dorff, joining us here on the program. Thanks for joining us, man. I really appreciate you.
Thanks for having me again, Brandon. It's always good to be here, man. Always good to talk some MMA. So, yeah, I'm glad you invited me again. Thanks.
Listen, nobody's more knowledgeable than you, my friend. I always love getting your takes. It's always appreciated. So this week it was announced Dana White finally gives out the Manchester card. We got Leon Edwards and Bilal Muhammad is going to finally happen. I'll start off there with that. Your reaction to that finally coming to be, that we finally have Leon and Bilal being finalized. Is there any element of you that is surprised that we finally got it? Because it felt like forever they were trying to keep Bilal away from the title.
Yeah, I felt like it was a confirmation of an announcement we pretty much had in our head already, you know?
Yeah.
I was kind of on the thing that maybe they do Tom Aspinall as a main event because he's from Manchester, you know? So I was like, maybe they switch it, but they probably felt like we cannot do an interim title over a actual undisputed title, you know? Maybe that's the way they felt about it. I'm good with it, you know? I think... listen, man, Leon wants to defend in England. That's okay. Bilal wants to have his chance. I think he deserved it after the streak he had, so I have no problem with it. And yeah, same goes with Tom against Curtis, man. I think they tried for Tom against Ciryl Gane. I think Ciryl Gane preferred to fight in Paris later this year. You do the Blades rematch. I'm good with it, man. Blades defeated Jilton Almeida last time out, and yeah, good for him, man. I mean, Blades has been so close to a title shot so many times and it slipped through his hands so many times. You know, and now he finally is gonna fight for a title. It's an interim title, but still, you know. So I'm good with the fights, you know.
I'm good with them too, and it is interesting where we're at with the heavyweight title, because I'm not mad at it. I've been more mad at other interim situations before. Like, I get this one. Like, you got the John Jones Stipe fight. It's a GOAT fight. I want that historically to be there as just a fan of the sport. But is there an element of you that's like annoyed that John is getting to hold on to the title for the Stipe fight instead of fighting Aspinall? Or are you cool with them having almost these two brackets of interim and the undisputed title?
Yeah, it's kind of annoying to me, man. And it's not because I'm from Europe before people are saying, yeah, but you probably are a huge Tom fan. No, it's not that at all. It's like, the thing is, like, Tom and Curtis know they fight each other for an interim title, but they also know they won't fight John Jones next because John Jones is fighting Stipe. And that's weird, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I understand that the UFC wants that fight. But listen, man, if that fight doesn't happen this year, when are we going to see that fight? You know, Jonas is getting any younger. Stipe definitely doesn't get any younger. You know, I think he's already 43 now. My pardon if he's a little bit younger, but I thought he was 43. But yeah, that fight has to happen soon, man. Otherwise, it's kind of, listen, man, imagine John Jones gets injured again. Imagine. Let's hope not, but imagine that happens. And he's like, I'm back next year in International Fight Week. Then Tom Aspinall might have 3 title defenses back then, an interim title. That's weird. That I don't think that happened often before. I remember with Dominic Cruz that Henan Barrao's title got from an interim to an actual champion when Dominic Cruz was a long time out. I also think it happened with Andrei Arlovsky when Frank Mir got that motorcycle accident. I think it got him out for 2 years. But it's like, it's not really common, you know, what happens. So, yeah, I mean, for me personally, I hope the winner of this fight fights John. I know they're going to do the Stipe fight. Listen, if the Stipe John fight is not holding up a division, I like to see it, you know what I mean? But it really has to happen. I think if it happens in New York later this year, November probably, you know, but it has to happen this year, man. That's my opinion.
I agree. There's elements that I agree with that. It feels like John and Stipe need something on the line because it's like this historic battle between them, but then it also really doesn't, because I feel like it would be a monster pay-per-view either way.
Yeah.
Is there any element to you that feels like that once if John does beat Stipe, which I guess isn't a given, but if he does beat Stipe, that he's just going to retire and that's it? Or do you feel like a healthy John Jones will continue and fight the young guns eventually?
I think John Jones is set for life. He doesn't have to fight anymore if he doesn't want to, I mean, he's a superstar, let's be honest. And he's arguably the best ever to ever do it, So in my opinion, this is pure for his legacy. He wants to fight the guy with the most title defenses at heavyweight, He wants to beat him, which is Stipe. And then I think he retires after that. He has nothing to gain to fight Tom Aspinall, Curtis Blades, Sergey Pavlovich, all these younger guys. And listen, people will say, do you think John Jones is scared? No, he's not scared, man. He fought the best of the best for years. Why would he be scared, But the thing is, like, he has nothing left to prove then. Then he has the most title defenses at light heavyweight. He became the heavyweight champion, and he defended it against the most successful heavyweight in UFC history, if you go by the stats, you know what I mean? So what is there for him? I mean, he can take Aspinall fight, but imagine him losing that fight. It's always a possibility. It would tarnish his legacy for a lot of people. I don't care. I think his legacy is set. You know what I mean? But the thing is, like, there's actually nothing for him to gain. So I think both Miocic and Jones will retire after that fight. That's what I think. And that's why I actually see the Tom Aspinall title, the interim, kind of as an actual title as well, but you cannot say it because it's not the actual title. It's not the undisputed title. That's John Jones's title right now,
Yeah, going back to that matchup, like, do you feel for Curtis, like, he's had such a fascinating career because he's been so close. And every time you think he's going to get there, he goes up against some striker that just knocks him into oblivion, and then he goes on a crazy streak again. Their fight being as unfulfilling as it was with the injury, like, how do you like his chances against Aspinall? Because Aspinall has looked pretty unbeatable.
Very tough, man, to be really honest. Very tough. You see already, like, listen, man, Aspinall has also a really good ground game, And you saw Jelton Almeida pretty much throw them around in the first round, man. That's the last fight. Listen, I'm not gonna lie, I picked Almeida to win the fight, but I was even surprised what he did with him the first round. I know it was a lot of dry humping, what a lot of people saying, but still he controlled him there for 5 minutes, And after that, he finished the fight because Jelton, he just hold on for a leg and he got knocked into the temple and got out. But I think Aspinall way different, man. Aspinall also will strike if possible with blades, obviously, and he is competitive on the ground. So I think, listen, man, a healthy Tom Aspinall will be a handful for everybody in the division. And I think Tom Aspinall right now is the best guy in the division, and not thinking about John Jones. I'm not thinking about John Jones right now. So I'm not saying Tom Aspinall would beat John Jones. Definitely not what I'm saying here. But right now, for the guys he's fighting, I think he's a really tough guy to handle. And I think I would favor Tom in the fight against Blades in the rematch, but man, you can never count out Curtis Blades, man. Guy's a veteran, has fought anybody, and has done well against most of the people, His losses came against Francis Ngannou twice, against Sergey Pavlovich, and isn't that it?
Did Derek Lewis get him?
Yeah, Derek Lewis. Yeah, exactly.
It's just all these guys with these haymaker power. Like, that's always been the way to get him. And then, like, you understand why dangerous. And then he's like busting somebody's head open. Like, he's really, really dangerous. It's just been such a crazy ride because it felt like every time he was that close, he'd just get chin checked by, somebody with the ungodly power. So I never want to rule him out, but I agree with you. I think Aspinall's just looked like just the tip of the spear recently. He's looked absolutely unbelievable. Let me ask you this, man, as somebody who is on the other side of the world, unlike us, the greedy Americans over here, Tom Aspinall did have some criticisms about the start time of the card. What did you make of those? Like, do you think that's some valid? Like, they're making the fans go at like 2 a.m, so it appeases the American pay-per-view audience?
Listen, man, the thing is, like, I understand the criticism, of course, if you ask an American to go to the pay-per-view event on 4 a.m. at night or 3 a.m. at night, I mean, a lot of wouldn't go, you know what I mean? So I understand it fully. At the same time, we're kind of used to it, I mean, and in England, the only thing that's dangerous, man, is like, I think a lot of English people will be already drunk even before the card starts, you know what I mean? And what I've heard from the last card in Manchester was 204 was also pay-per-view at night with Michael Bisping against Dan Anderson. I remember I got told by people who were there that there was a lot of drug use in the at the toilets. A lot of cocaine was rolling there and that kind of stuff. So, I mean, that's not a good thing, you know. And also, I think this this event where it's the Co-op Live, it's a new event center. It has a, how do you say that? That it's a certain time that it's closed. You know, a curfew. I think the curfew is 11 p.m. So it's really weird what they're gonna do with that. I have no idea. But yeah, but I understand, man. I mean, the defense they are pumped to go to Europe, and then you're going to give him an at night card. Doesn't matter for me. It doesn't matter. I'm always awake at night. I mostly sleep in the morning, you know. So I'm always awake at night. I'm used to it. It's like probably it's now like every single week we have to watch at night. But yeah, but I understand, man. For a lot of people who are like, listen, man, there are still a lot of guys and girls in Europe who are watching the fights not live, but the morning when they wake up, like it's 7 or 8 p.m. They wake up, they're gonna eat something and they're gonna watch the fights, you know, and that's not possible now if you want to be live attending, you know. So yeah, it doesn't matter to me, but I definitely understand the annoyance from a lot of people from it, and even I have even heard the American people understanding that. So yeah, I mean,
I've become more of a as the years go by, man. As I get older, I become more of a fan because I used to hate like, oh, it's a 6 o'clock start over here. The older I get, the more I love it. I'm like, oh, great. Tyson Fury and Usyk are fighting at that. Great, perfect. Let's do it. Whatever gets me to bed by 9 o'clock, I'm all for it, dude. I will. I feel like make them comfortable over there. That makes it a crazy atmosphere. But I get it. He's looking out for his fans. Paddy the Baddy's going to be on this card, making his return against Bobby Green. We talked a little bit about him last week when he got the call out from Chase Hooper and some of that. So what do you make of Paddy the Baddy right now as far as what he has to show, and how do you like his chances in this matchup, or do you feel like this could be a potential one where you know, he gets exposed in this performance?
This is the first time I'll say fated Paddy train in this one, to be really honest, man. I mean, this is stylistic, really bad matchup in my opinion for him. You know, you're going up against a guy who has cardio for days. We've seen in Paddy's fights that he wins the fight, don't get me wrong, but his cardio is not like top notch, you know. Definitely Bobby Green has a striking advantage over him in this fight, you know. Paddy might be a better guy on the ground, but do I see him submitting Bobby Green in 15 minutes? Not really, to be really honest, you know. And I don't think he keeps him on the ground like he did with Tony Ferguson. I think Bobby's just much more crisp with the striking. You know, he has that style, and I know Paddy rocked Tony, but listen, man, Tony a little bit wild, you know, and I have a lot of respect for Tony. I always liked the guy, and I hope he doesn't see this, but I don't think he's like he should be fighting anymore in the UFC, to be really honest, man. And listen, and I love Tony, you know, like a lot of people do, but just for his own good, you know. I think it's not a good matchup for Paddy. And also take in mind the fight is at night in the UK. That means that that Bobby Green also has an advantage there because this is normal fighting time for him, pretty much, you know. And Paddy has to adjust there. Obviously, he has to fly to England. So, but I see everything in favor of Bobby Green in this fight. Maybe I'm crazy, but that's how I see it, man.
I'm very biased. Before we get you out of here, big Marcel Dorff, one of the best out there. Go follow him out on Twitter. Keeps you up to date with all the news that is going and happenings in UFC, MMA, and every promotion, really. I'm very biased because I love Dustin Poirier. He's probably my favorite active fighter going right now that Robbie Lawler is retired. But do you feel like, what are the chances you think he has against Islam? You know, that's the next pay-per-view coming up, probably his last crack at it. Do you feel like it's a smart play? He's a dog, understandably, but do you feel like he can get it done and actually get the last accomplishment left in his career, which is undisputed champion?
Listen, man, I love Dustin, but I'll tell you one thing: if he jumps the guillotine as he did with Benoit Saint-Denis, it's over, man, because he's not going to go away from that position, I think. Listen, man, the thing that we saw with Dustin in this last title fight, which wasn't against Charles Oliveira, was that he tagged him, but he didn't want to go with him to the ground. You know what I mean? And I think he can tag Islam, but he also probably wants to stay away from the ground. And that's the thing, man. That's the thing. What Islam had an advantage over these other guys who fought Charles, you know. Justin, Michael Chandler, Dustin, they all three didn't want to go to the ground with Charles. Islam didn't matter. He knocked him down, went to the ground, submitted him. So the thing is, like, I know MMA mat never works, but in my opinion, if Dustin wants to win, he has to keep it standing, and he has to make sure to land a very good punch or a kick to probably knock him out. On the ground, I know Dustin Poirier has a great ground game, but man, Islam is so strong, man. I just can't see it. You know what I mean? And to be really honest, I think Islam finishes him. And I'm sorry you said you were a big Dustin Poirier fan, so I don't want to.
It's all good.
But,
listen,
yeah,
I know what he's up against. You know, that's just that's a South Florida thing for me. But I feel like honestly, he kind of needs Islam to almost, because Islam's been finishing with some strikes. So like you kind of almost need Islam to be cocky and that maybe he believes in it a little bit more. But, you know, I mean, listen, it's a fight. You never know what's going to happen. But I'm with you. I understand what he's going up against. It's not an easy challenge for him.
Yeah, I mean, listen, man, Dustin, he's great. He will definitely be in the UFC Hall of Fame, I'm sure, you know, and I hope he makes a fourth, how do you say that? A fourth hot sauce after these three he made now, because I love them. I use them all the time. So, yeah, he's overall great, man. But I understand for Dustin, it's kind of frustrating. He's been so long in the UFC. He wants to have that he got the interim title, but he wants to win the actual title, obviously. And this probably his last shot at it. Let's hope he does well, you know, but I think it will be very hard. And listen, man, win or lose, I think he's a great fighter. So let's put it at that.
Yeah, nothing's ever going to change that. Marcel, thanks for the time. Really appreciate you.
BetQL Network.
All right, guys, let's finish off this show right where we started, inside the Ring of Fire. Earlier tonight or today, depending on where you are, it was Fury versus Usyk for all the heavyweight championship belts. Fury went off as a slight favorite at BetMGM minus 120. Usyk at even money plus 100. It was all Fury early on. It was all Usyk late. Ultimately, Usyk ends up winning on the cards. BT, what's your biggest takeaway from Usyk now being the heavyweight linear? He's got all the belts around his waist tonight.
Yeah, biggest takeaway is similar to the take that Terrence Crawford had. He's absolutely in the conversation now as the best fighter on the planet for handing Tyson Fury that loss. And then not only that you become the first undisputed champion in a quarter century in the glamour division of boxing. So great performance, but also just great fight. Between the two of them, we talked about the odd swing that entire first round, that entire first segment. It was going up and down like a crazed stock market between the two of them, and so it was just a great fight between both of them. Apparently, Usyk suffered a broken jaw. Tyson Fury busted nose, busted eyes. These guys really put their bodies on the line. But for Usyk to really, we talked about that as it was happening. I said, the only way this is going to happen is he's got to have a moment where he really hurts Tyson Fury, and he did it. And then my only other takeaway from that is, Fury listening to some of his quotes on X as the breaks were going on, is he did mention, I'm at the end of my career, which makes you wonder how much longer does he want to do this, but he's also been a guy that's been very open. He struggled with dealing with retirement too. So I don't know if his career's going to end after this fight, but he doesn't sound like a guy that wants to get hurt that much more anymore.
Also, it's not like he got dominated. He won on one of the scorecards, so he didn't get beat up that bad. It's not like he actually hit the canvas, which he has in his last couple of fights, so he stayed up. I mean, it sounds like he was very competitive in the fight. Again, one of the judges thought that he won. Why would you retire now when you can get one more payday? It sounds like maybe he's a little bit sour. Somebody's had to go tonight in the fight, and Tyson Fury is no longer undefeated, and that sucks. But, dude, you got at least one more big payday in this rematch. You win that one, you got another big payday, a biggest payday probably of all time in the trilogy, at least when it comes to Tyson Fury, and that guy's made hundreds of millions of dollars in the boxing ring. If he's got a chance to make hundreds of millions of dollars on the way out, he's not going anywhere.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, even if the next fight he goes and is able to win it, you could also swerve to the Anthony Joshua fight that they've never had. That's going to be one of the biggest UK fights of all time. So he definitely has options. I mean, look, it's always probably worse to get a fighter's opinion right after they've been through a battle like that. But yeah, he's not young anymore. He mentioned he's 36. Usyk is 37. Deontay Wilder's up there in his 40s. AJ is the only one I think who's younger than all these guys. So, the names that have dominated the heavyweight division over the last, half decade are starting to get up there. And then you kind of wonder, is there anybody behind them to take the crown? Because it looks like slim pickings in a division that really, because of Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, and AJ, really had a nice renaissance. I guess you could throw Andy Ruiz and Usyk in there too, for sure. But you do wonder, how many more of these matchups of this round robin can we go?
Honestly, boxing as a whole, partially because of the heavyweights, the last 5 or 6 years, has had a really nice resurgence. I mean, let's give some credit to Jake Paul and to all that gimmick stuff as well. But, the Ryan Garcias of the world have found their way, and the Tank Davises and Canelo still being relevant in the heavyweight division. We've seen some fun fights like the Teofimo Lopez upset of the last few years. It's boxing. It feels like it's kind of having their moment again coming up in a couple of months when Mike Tyson steps back in that ring against Jake Paul. Say what you will, wherever you drive around listening on the BetQL network, shaking your head, you're going to be watching. That's going to feel like a real Mike Tyson fight. I'm telling you, even money odds by the time that fight goes off. Right now at BetMGM plus 150, if you want to get the underdog Mike Tyson. BT pointed out wisely that, come on, get in where you fit in, because everybody's going to put their money on Tyson on fight night. So I don't know about you, dude, but that's one that the more it gets closer to it, the more excited that I get. To me, I'm not going to lie. We're going to talk about some big UFC fights coming up this summer. The Tyson-Jake Paul fight is the fight that I'm looking forward to the most. There, I said it.
What, the most? You're more anticipating that than Conor McGregor's return.
Yeah, because I'm still a little weary if we're actually going to get that. And let me tell you something else about that. I don't think Conor's going to look great. Like with Mike Tyson, something tells me he's going to actually impress people and look pretty good. And I'm not talking about by 57-year-old standards. I'm talking about by anybody's standards. I think Conor at this point, maybe in the first round looks really good, but if that thing goes any more than one, he just gasses out and gets choked out like the Nate Diaz fight.
I think that a lot of people will care. Something tells me that we're going to be very underwhelmed by the event on that night just because of the gimmickiness of it. But look, you're right. We'll all be watching. We'll all be betting. It is an official pro fight, so you can get your action in on it, and that'll be cool. And look, people care about Mike Tyson. The last time that he fought against Roy Jones, which was an exhibition, did monster pay-per-view numbers. And so the guy still draws. He's still important like that. Still one of the biggest fight names of all time. So it definitely is going to draw a lot of eyeballs.
Any word if he would still eat your children? Have we gotten any update on that? Or are we good? I think we're past that when it comes to Mike Tyson. Impregnable? Again. All right, we do have some fights tonight inside the octagon. Great card, not so much. Can you bet on it? Sure. Lerone Murphy in the main event, the favorite, against Edson Barboza plus 140. Where's your money going? Give me the underdog Barboza by knockout in the main event.
I think I got sold by Marcel. I like Barboza too, but I'm going to take Barboza by decision and get it over 5 rounds. But yeah, I just like Barboza. I feel like we've seen, they do these main events, and the guys who have kind of been there in the limelight, I like them in these spots. They kind of just go off the back of a veteran, just like they did last week with a Derek Lewis. There's value in that to me, so I'm going to go with Barboza, but I think it goes the distance.
All right, let's talk about the next pay-per-view that we've got coming up, headlined by Dustin Poirier versus Islam Makhachev. Right now, the Diamond plus 325, Islam minus 450. Now, to me, those odds are still crazy, but remember right when this fight opened, you could have got Dustin to closer to 5-1. I think a lot of people went, what? Okay, I'll take that. Then it got down to 4-1 real quick to plus 325. Like we were just talking about Tyson. A lot of people are going to want to bet on Poirier the night of the fight. Wouldn't be surprised if it goes all the way down to plus 275 by the time it goes off. And here's the thing. As much as I like Dustin Poirier and as much money as I made on him in the last fight against Benoit Saint-Denis, that was easy money. I loved him when he was at 5-1. I liked him when he was at 4-1. Now that he's closer to 3-1, I'm like, yeah, maybe I'll just put the money on Islam, because if I'm being dead honest with you, I think that Islam, there's a good chance that he ragdolls him around the octagon for a round and then either knocks him or chokes him out. And I love Dustin Poirier.
Well, that's the formula to beat Dustin Poirier. I mean, you don't want to stand with him. Standing with him is stupid. And the one thing that gives me a little glimmer of hope in a fight like this is, as we saw with the Benoit Saint-Denis fight, is you have a first round where you kind of dominate Dustin Poirier. If he could survive that, which I think he can. He's a very durable guy, and he's a hard guy to finish.
Oh, sure.
If you do that, I feel like there could be an opportunity where maybe Islam gets a little overconfident. There has to be Islam mistakes. I will give you that. I don't know if Dustin Poirier can go out there, dictate a fight, and win straight up, but I think that those opportunities can be there because he might think that Dustin's a little bit vulnerable, and that's where this man is an absolute Tasmanian devil menace, because you think that you have him, and then all of a sudden he hits you with a combination you never saw coming, and then the fight completely changes. The thing that's interesting with this about Islam is, the Khabib comparisons are undeniable because of their relationship. They're training together in New Jersey. They've been there forever. Stacked camp. Bilal Muhammad's in the camp, and they're getting ready for all that. The thing that I'm wondering is, all right, but who do you got that can box like Dustin? Because are you guys going to strictly go that way? Because Islam has shown you he kind of likes to scrap a little bit. And I do think that if there are those moments, the grappler's always going to have the advantage because he's going to have the trump card, but Dustin's not a slouch and is easily taken down. He's tough to take down. I just think that there'll be those moments. You can get him at knockout still, and I think if he's going to win by knockout. You could get that still like 6-1 right now. So you might want to play that in because I do think that more people will hop on that. And that's the way I'm going to go because I'll be honest, if he doesn't beat him by knockout, he's not going to win a decision against him. That'd be crazy. But I do think that those moments are definitely possibly there, are possibly going to be there for him. And Dustin Poirier, all he needs is like a little window and he could switch a fight.
Send me location. I want to fight with your chicken. I'm with you. I think that Dustin definitely is a live wire in this fight. The deeper that it goes, to me, the more that it favors Dustin Poirier. And he's one of those rare fighters, kind of like a Nate Diaz, kind of like my boy Nate the Train Landwehr, where once they get punched in the face a couple of times, they become better fighters. You know what I'm saying? Like if Dustin Poirier is too clean, if he's not bleeding a little bit, then I'm like, I don't know if he's going to win. But once he gets beat up a little bit or somebody tries choking him out and he gets out of it, it's like, all right, now you pissed off the wrong guy. And those type of fights are over with. So to me, if it's done in one, that's going to be Islam. If it gets into the second or third, or dare I say the championship rounds, then I think the live odds are going to start to favor our boy Dustin Poirier. So he's definitely a live wire in that fight. Quickly, we've got like a minute left. Your early lean in the co-main, that Sean Strickland-Paulo Costa match.
Oh, it's still Strickland. Strickland, I think he's right when he says he has an argument that he should still be champion right now. Paulo Costa, like Dustin, is a wild card, but he's also a bit of a mental wild card. You don't quite know you're going to get. And mind you, to everybody, this is a 5-round co-main event. And I just think that leans on Strickland a little bit more because he's got cardio for days. So I don't know what the method odds are quite yet. We'll get those during fight week, but I would say Strickland by decision is a pretty strong way to go.
Always love doing shows on Saturday nights during the fights. We had a good one, Usyk by decision in the heavyweight match versus Tyson Fury. Appreciate you checking us out tonight. For my producer, Jake Noaker, thanks to Big Marcel Dorff and Brendan Tobin, I'm merely the sports machine, Sean Levine, and we'll talk to you next Saturday night right here on the BetQL Network. Good night.